Have you ever wondered if miracles can stand up to scientific scrutiny? For nearly 500 years, one of the most sacred relics in the Americas has been doing just that, baffling scientists and inspiring millions. This is the incredible story of the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, an image that, by all scientific logic, shouldn't even exist today. Our story begins in 1531, on a hill called Tepeyac near modern-day Mexico City. An indigenous man named Juan Diego, recently converted to Christianity, was on his way to Mass. Suddenly, he heard beautiful music and a gentle voice calling his name. He looked up to see a radiant woman, who revealed herself as the Virgin Mary. She gave him a mission: go to the bishop and ask him to build a church on that very hill, a place of love and compassion for all people. As you can imagine, the Bishop Juan de Zumarraga was skeptical. A poor uneducated man claiming to have seen the Virgin Mary? He asked for a sign, proof that this was truly a divine request. Juan Diego returned to the hill, disheartened, and relayed the bishop's demand to the lady. She told him to come back the next day, and she would provide the sign. However, the next day, Juan Diego's uncle, Juan Bernardino, fell gravely ill. Forgetting his appointment with the lady, Juan Diego spent the day caring for him. By December 12th, his uncle was near death. Desperate, Juan Diego ran to find a priest for the last rites, taking a different route to avoid the lady on Tepeyac Hill, feeling ashamed for not keeping his promise. But she appeared before him anyway, her presence gentle and reassuring. "Am I not here, I who am your mother?" she asked. "Are you not in the hollow of my mantle, in the crossing of my arms? What else do you need?" She assured him that his uncle was already cured, and then gave him his new task. She instructed him to climb to the top of the barren, frosty hill, and gather the flowers he would find there. Juan Diego obeyed. At the summit, he was stunned to find an abundance of Castilian roses, flowers not native to Mexico, and certainly not in bloom in the dead of winter. He gathered them in his cloak, called a tilma, and the lady arranged them with her own hands before sending him back to the bishop. When Juan Diego finally stood before Bishop Zumarraga and his advisors, he opened his The beautiful roses tumbled to the floor, but that wasn't the miracle that left everyone speechless. Imprinted on the coarse fabric of his cloak was a stunning, life-sized image of the woman from Tepeyac Hill. The bishop fell to his knees, his skepticism replaced by awe. He had his sign. A small chapel was quickly built, and soon after, a larger church. When Juan Diego returned home, he found his uncle completely healed, who confirmed that the lady had appeared to him as well. Identifying herself as Santa Maria de Guadalupe, the tilma was placed in the new church, and almost overnight, it sparked a massive wave of conversion. Millions of indigenous people, who had previously resisted Spanish missionaries, embraced Christianity, seeing in the image a compassionate mother who looked like one of them and spoke to them through symbols they understood. But the story doesn't end there. The real mystery begins when we look at the tilma itself. It's made of maguey fiber, a rough, cactus-based material. A cloth like this should have disintegrated in about 20 to 30 years. Yet, here it is, almost 5 centuries later, with its colors as vibrant as the day it appeared. It has survived floods, a bomb explosion that destroyed a nearby marble altar and bent a heavy metal crucifix, and even an accidental acid spill, without any significant damage. For centuries, no one knew how the image was made. It doesn't appear to be a painting. In 1936, Chemistry Nobel Prize winner Richard Kuhn was given 2 fibers from the tilma to analyze. His conclusion was astonishing. There were no known natural, animal, or mineral colorants on the fibers. The colors were simply there. It was as if the fabric itself had changed color. Later, in 1979, Philip Callahan and Jody Smith, 2 scientists from the University of Florida, were allowed to examine the tilma using infrared photography. Their findings were just as perplexing. They confirmed there is no underdrawing, no sketch, and no brushstrokes. The image seems to be a single-step creation. Parts of the image, like the face and hands, have a texture that is impossibly smooth for the rough fabric they're on. It's almost like a photograph, but photography wouldn't be invented for another 300 years. Callahan noted the image appears to change in tone and color depending on the viewing distance, a technique known as aerial perspective, which was unheard of for artists of that era. Perhaps the most mind-blowing discovery lies within the Virgin's eyes. In 1929, a photographer named Alfonso Marcou first noticed what looked like the reflection of a bearded man in the right eye. Decades later, advanced digital technology would confirm and expand on his observation. Dr. José Alste Tonsman, a Peruvian engineer from Cornell University, spent over 20 years digitally magnifying the image of the eyes. At 2,500 times magnification, he discovered an incredibly detailed scene reflected in both pupils. What did he find? The reflections appeared to show the very moment Juan Diego unfurled his tip. Dr. Tonsman identified at least 13 distinct figures, including an elderly man with a white beard who resembles Bishop Zumarraga, a younger man interpreted as Juan Diego, a woman with dark skin, and even a family with several children. The reflections are distorted precisely as they would be on a living human cornea. The level of detail is microscopic, impossible for any human artist to have painted, especially in the 16th century. It's a snapshot of history, hidden in plain sight. There are other incredible details. The stars on her mantle are said to be an accurate map of the constellations as they appeared in the sky over Mexico City on December 12, 1531. The temperature of the tilma itself is consistently 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, the same as a living human body. A doctor once placed a stethoscope on the image over the womb and reportedly heard a heartbeat at 115 beats per minute, the typical rate for a baby in utero. Of course, there are skeptics. Some suggest the image was painted by a talented indigenous artist. They point to later editions, like the moon and angel, as evidence of human intervention. And it's true, some elements were likely added over the centuries to enhance the image. But no skeptic has ever been able to replicate the original image on a similar piece of maguey cloth with the same properties. They can't explain how the original image has survived, how the colors were produced without pigment, or how the microscopic scene was embedded in the eyes. For believers, the tilma is a continuous miracle, a divine love letter. For scientists, it remains an unsolved enigma, a piece of fabric that defies the known laws of physics and chemistry. And science meet and are both left in a state of wonder. What do you think? Is it a masterful 16th century artwork or tangible proof of a miracle? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.